Alright everyone, I am no Bernie Sanders fan. He's from my home state of Vermont. I think he's an embarrassment. I would never vote for him, and I'm going to actively do everything possible to stand in his way politically. When you are, one of the few Vermonters with a significant platform, I think that puts me in an odd, unique position with that. That being said, Bernie Sanders is not a sexist. Bernie Sanders is not homophobic. He's not racist. He's not an evil person, he's just a delusional socialist clinging to a mid-19th century ideology and economics for middle schoolers. He's a dumbass, but he's not evil. Elizabethwarren is evil. Elizabethwarren is a career politician who for decades and decades has constantly shifted her positions like a goddamn snake over and over again in accordance with what she thinks will get her the most money and get elected again. This is what she has done consistently for decades. Going all the way back to the 70s when she was adding mayonnaise-rich recipes to a Native American cookbook called Pow Wow Chow, she has been consistently lying since day one. She's lied to the American people about the subject of her marriage. She's lied about getting canned because she got pregnant, which is the opposite of truth. She's lied about her ethnic heritage. She's lied about her proposals and her platform, about her record, and now she's lying about Bernie Sanders. If there's one thing that we can learn about Bernie Sanders fans is that they're very hardcore and they don't like it when you lie about Bernie. If you're like me, you say you think that Bernie Sanders is an idiot, that his economic proposals would destroy the U.S. economy, and that it would be crazy to nominate and certainly elect him. You'll get them jumping down your throat. Now imagine that you're Elizabethwarren. You're already seen as the enemy by the Bernie fans because your very presence is preventing him from being competitive. Which, by the way, is a useful thing, the only useful thing that Warren is doing right now. By the way, Bernie being very useful in blocking her from the nomination. Good on you, Bernie. Stay in the race and keep her out, because Warren's 10 times worse. So imagine that Elizabethwarren comes out and says, oh yeah, I remember a couple of years ago, 2018, I was having a conversation with old Bernie there about the presidency. And he told me that he thought that a woman couldn't win the presidency. Oh my God, fire alarms go off in your head. The woke crowd gets up out of their graves at night, at least appearance-wise, I'm sure that they do. They get up out of their casket and they shriek like banshees and say, oh my God, see, Bernie Sanders is a sexist. Here's the problem. When I heard this initially, my first reaction was this conforms too closely to what like CNN and the DNC have said about Bernie. Well, he's disingenuous. He's not a real Dem. He's actually like sexist and shit. The Bernie is a Russian asset line. Bernie is a sexist. Bernie is racist. He's not woke enough. All of these things about him. An accurate person fixates on what he's proposed and his actual character, and with a sound mind can find plenty of things to bitch about Bernie Sanders for. He's almost 80 and just had a heart attack. Not a great idea to nominate somebody who falls into those categories, by the way. You can brush it aside if you want. Oh, he's healthy as a horse. Trump's the pudgy one. Trump didn't just have a heart attack. Trump's not pushing 80. He's in his early 70s. There's a big fucking difference between the two. Sanders is almost 79 years old. Get over it. He's an old man. His revolution each day is eating his fiber muffin and drinking his prune juice to make sure he stays regular so he doesn't shit his pants on the campaign trail. Tries to wear Depends up on stage, but that doesn't make him a sexist. This conforms too closely to what Warren's sort of fan base had been smearing him with. Oh, well, Bernie says he's not female. He just doesn't quite understand. It's a different kind of leftism. When things conform too fully to one-dimensionality or to things that you can already register propaganda, they're probably bullshit. Here's what I think. I think that the conversation never happened in the first place. I've got several reasons for thinking that. The first is that it looks like none other than Sean King himself, who's a Bernie bro, he's a Bernie fan, and some of these other leftists look into it. And they can't find any particular evidence whatsoever of this conversation happening, but they do have staff saying, oh yeah, Elizabethwarren embellishes her stories a lot. See, what happens is that you have Bernie's fans raise a firestorm. And the Warren fans are all like, see, we told you Bernie Sanders is a sexist, so they counterattack. And then in the heat of battle, I guess, some people that have worked with Warren are like, oh yeah, that's bullshit, and everyone knows it. Then they dug out footage from the 80s. And this is the great thing about Sanders. He's been in politics since the 1970s. He's no stranger to the camera. He's on record on basically every issue since the middle of the 1900s. You got footage, several reels of them from the 1980s. One of them, he's addressing a fucking, like a kindergarten class and saying, well, I believe that females should run for office. I believe that there should be a woman president. He's talking in the late 80s, like 88, 89. I believe that a female can win the presidency. Yes, I believe that we can have a woman president. By the way, suggesting that back in the 80s was pretty damn actually progressive. Most people would not have suggested that back in the 80s. It would have been considered laughable. It would have been considered funny. The idea was funny to people because the culture was different. We're talking the 1970s, 1980s. You're talking half a century ago, more or less. It's a long time. That's like when I was young, comparing it to the Great Depression. It's a huge difference. It's like night and day, culturally and politically speaking. Sanders on record, back before all of his hair was gray, on record saying that there could be a female president. So how do you reconcile him saying that consistently? You got several different points in time when he's saying the same thing. How can you reconcile that with what Warren is claiming he said? She doesn't have any evidence. She doesn't have a recording of what he's saying, but we have recordings to the contrary. I hate having to defend Bernie Sanders because I think that socialism is scum. Leftism is a cancer. It's a complete failure. It should be castigated and cast aside into the shitty dustbin of history. But Sanders as an individual is not a sexist. He's a socialist. He's a weirdo. He's moronic when it comes to many political issues, but he's not the idea of him as bad, as an intrinsic, this is peddled by the DNC, by billionaires that back people like Warren. Warren sucked down tens of millions last campaign in 2016 when she was running for re-election, or was it 2018? One or the other. For the Senate. She sucked down tens of millions in corporate cash and sat on it until this current campaign so she could turn around and lie about being a grassroots candidate. This is a chronic liar who's running. If you want a chronic liar, you should be a Warren fan. Now, Warren's already peaked. She's 10 points down from her height, in which she was about even with Biden for a single afternoon. She's still falling. She's likely to take a hit from this too. I would like it if Warren would come out and prove that this conversation happened or fucking apologize and shut up. We don't need this in politics. You want to beat the commie? You want to beat the socialist? Be nominee or whatever? Do it on your own merit. Oh, wait. Oh, I think I just got to the crux of the problem. She doesn't have any. There's literally no reason to support Elizabeth Warren. She's unelectable. If you put a person who debates by freezing up when antagonized in front of the antagonist-in-chief, Donald Trump, she will be mincemeat. He would fucking destroy her. The Bernie bros know this, the Biden fans know this, Trump fans know this, and those of us who analyze politics for a living fucking goddamn know this. Look at the way she responds when actually antagonized. She's probably, right now, when she saw the Bernie story, that she hoped that Bernie Sanders would do what he normally does, not respond at all, and that his fans would be silent. As far as I haven't checked, but I don't think Bernie himself has responded yet. He refused to take the bait, which is to his credit. His fans are ripping her a new asshole. It's trending anyway. He doesn't have to respond. He's got Bernie bros on his side. Other than Trump fans, they are definitely the most fervent. Let's just put it that way. They're like libertarians when you've told them that you want to invade their pot garden. He doesn't even need to respond. Elizabeth Warren, fundamentally, I believe, wanted to make this comment, get the woke crowd on her side, get the wedge issue thing going, gobble up a few points, go into Iowa and be competitive. That's why she's doing this now. She didn't say it before. This was a conversation from 2018. Why didn't you tell the American people Bernie was a raging sexist who didn't think a woman could get elected before? This is exactly like a Hillary Clinton strategy. I wouldn't be surprised if Hillary Clinton advised her to do this. I really wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at anything at this point from the Warren camp. A bunch of disingenuous hacks. And I've talked to some of her fans. Some of these people are not very kind people. Elizabeth Warren's just a bad person. And if you can't see through it, you got to have something wrong with you. How can you consider her electable? It's not because she's female, it's because she's a liar. It's not because she's female, it's because she's a corporate cocksucker. That's what she is. She gobbles down the corporate money from the Koch brothers and others. She takes the Goldman Sachs, the Merrill Lynch cash. She takes the McDonald's donation and the Zuckerberg money. She's a corporatist. She's a total such pretending to be progressive. She's not progressive. She's never been a progressive. I warned you that she would do exactly this like fucking 4 years ago. 4 years ago I was warning you, hey, by the way, Warren's going to run. She's going to try to be the missing link candidate, which means she's going to be a little bit not quite so far to the left as the other leftist. She's going to cast herself as the sane progressive. What the fuck has she done over the last year? Exactly what I expected. I also predict she will not be the nominee because she's too disingenuous and too transparent about it. She's like Hillary Clinton minus the finesse. That's what Elizabeth Warren is. She's got money problems right now. She's desperate. That's why she's lashing out. You've got no reason to punch up unless it's early in the race or you're desperate. When you're running in third place, you're in the double digits. You don't need to punch up. You're already in a decent position. You're already doing fairly well. There was a time in which the polls showed her ahead in Iowa, and I believe Nevada, if I remember correctly. She's going to get punished. The last 4 polls that we've got from the first 4 states show us that Biden's probably going to run away with it before Super Tuesday even comes to vote. What the fuck is Elizabeth Warren going to do? She is already peaked. My advice to Warren fans is abandon ship. Flee like rats off a sinking ship, because that's exactly what she is, a fucking rat. That's about all. Peace out.